Welcome back to the Powerful Communication Podcast. This is Colin Kelly from Comsteria. Back after a nice break. The other night I found myself travelling home in a Premier Inn with the kids, watching Channel 5. I think it's just called 5 these days, isn't it? And there's a couple of documentaries on, which to me represent really good, powerful storytelling. One was about the Langham Hotel in London, and the other was about Longleat Safari Park. And I think there's some lessons here for every business, because I know that every business these days is trying to tell stories. Everybody wants powerful storytelling. Emma runs a course in storytelling for us. I think where a lot of businesses go wrong with their storytelling is they have the story, but they don't frame it properly, and they don't peg it to a situation. They just try and have someone tell the story. So the big lesson from television and the kind of professional broadcast environment is that there has to be something happening while the story is being told. The story alone is not enough. There has to be a situation that gives it a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's easier if I just tell you the examples. The first one's about the Langham Hotel in London. You've got these two brothers who, when they were born, both had severe cleft palates. So they spent a lot of time in hospital. They missed a lot of school. They were both bullied. But they had each other. That was the one thing. They had each other. And where they've ended up is they are this elite double abseil act that fixes the lights on the Langham Hotel in London, the exterior to the building. The management had decided they were going to illuminate the building. They needed all the lights set up. And when we join it in this episode the other night, one of the lights, or two of the lights, need adjusted. And so these guys go over the top, abseil down, with the manager on the ground telling them how to position the lights. And the payoff at the end for the viewer is this building's in darkness, they flick the switch and all the lights come on. It's beautiful. And you see the emotion. And of course, it's not about the lights, impressive though they are. It's about the human endeavour. It's about the journey. It's about the triumph over adversity. And it's about the character of these people and the character of the business that employs them. Now, if you take away that story about the lights and the abseiling, you're just left with two guys saying, oh yeah, we had a tough childhood, we had cleft palates, this, it was really difficult, but now we've got good jobs. And most businesses, that's where they would leave it. That's all they would do, is they would have these guys talking to the camera, or they'd interview them, and it'd be a nice little Instagram reel. But when television comes along, and when the budget and the time, and crucially, the planning increases, they think, well, here's the story that we want to tell. How will we do it? Well, we'll connect it to this idea of the lights and the lights going on. Now, I know a little bit about television. I take these things at face value. I assume it's all true. But it's also rather convenient, isn't it, that the very day they decided they were going to fix the lights and switch them on, that the cameras were there. It doesn't really matter how you do it or how you get there. The important point is to recognise that the story on its own isn't enough. You can have the human side, you can have the emotion, you can have the journey, but for maximum impact, you need that payoff. Right, it needs to be connected to something. The other one I saw immediately after it was inside Longleat Safari Park. Another one on 5. And this was a guy called Dave, who I think he must have been in his 60s. He'd been there about 8 or 9 years, this kind of older guy, doing this job, driving the safari bus at Longleat, welcoming the visitors. And last year, he had extensive treatment for prostate cancer, and he'd been in quite a bad way with it, and was still in the recovery phase, but was doing a lot better. I think his name's Dave, and I wish him well. He seemed like a really good guy. Anyway, now again, like there's the story, right? But what they did on the TV show is they say, manager comes round, Dave, know you've been through a lot. Visitors love you. I've got something special for you today. You're getting a new bus. And it's the first time in the guy's life he's ever had a brand new bus, right? So you've got a visual, you've got moving pictures, you've got the payoff, you've got the emotion, you've got the reveal. Here's your new bus. Here's the first journey on the new bus. Right, now, again, without that, what have you got? You've got a nice guy that's been through a very challenging health situation. He's doing a bit better now and he's back at work. And that's okay. And that's what most organizations would do. But if you can go that bit further, if you can tie it and connect it to something visual, something tangible, where there's a payoff for the viewer. Like I'm sitting watching this with my kids, and they cut to a break and they say, when we come back, Dave takes his new bus for its first journey. And I said to my kids, oh, we'll need to watch that. That's the difference between just telling the easy first story that comes to mind, and that's your Instagram reel or whatever, or your YouTube or whatever it is, versus actually thinking beginning, middle, end, that full experience for the viewer. Now, clearly, abseiling off a hotel in the middle of London and a brand new safari bus, there's a scale and there's a budget that many of us just don't have. So I'm not suggesting that you need to do that, but it's the principle behind it. It's this idea of, yes, we've got our story, but we need to connect it to something. It needs to be anchored. And ideally, that should involve moving pictures and some sort of payoff for the viewer that will keep them watching to get to that payoff. So I hope that helps. And if you're interested in storytelling or documentary podcast making, which we've been doing for some clients, or video production, which Emma gets involved in for some of our other clients, get in touch. We'd love to chat with you about this. And if it's not something we can actually do completely on our own, then we've got some wonderful partners throughout the industry that we can bring in. We can put a team together to tell these stories for you. And you don't need a documentary on Channel 5. It can just be YouTube and Instagram or your website or whatever it is. But we'd love to help you bring these stories truly to life and really get the results that they deserve, rather than just a quick one and done social media hit. Thanks very much for listening.